Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up this week with some brand new music, and I figured since we were looking at music from the eastern half of the world as our week's theme, why not also check out some new music from that area of the world as well? And so today we're going to be looking at some K-pop. We have the band Twice with the recently released song Strategy, featuring Megan Thee Stallion. Let's dive into this, see what's going on with Twice.
Hey boy, I'ma get ya real good and I betcha.
It's Megan Thee Stallion.
Once I get ya, you'll be oh so bad
And Twice.
Ow! Step one, do my highlight.
Very warm, comfortable synth tone.
Step two, silhouette tight. Baby, even my shadow looks good, right? Step three, red hair right. Make you look my way with your heart.
Nice syncopation on the vocal melody opposed to that very standard backbeat coming from the percussion.
I'm feeling all your attention on me. No reason to be so shy.
Very crisp
I
production.
know you wanna move a little closer. Gotta try to get you with me. Get you on my radar soon. You're gonna be with me. My strategy.
Ooh, yeah, so this part is a bit more R&B, harmonically focused. This takes a little bit of a jazzier approach to that.
Hey boy, I'ma get you real good and I betcha. Hey boy, once I get ya, you'll be oh so glad that I met ya. When your cheeks go red, I wanna dance your side till I'm in your head, and you can't forget. You feel like there's no need confused. Watch my body get loose.
The exterior vocal layering. Interesting underwater atmosphere with that synth.
And you watch it bounce right back. He really lost it when he saw me do the right left. I'm a man eater, you were just a light snack. I got him pressed like he working on his triceps. I'm a flirt, I'm a tease, they be hurt after me. Told him, baby, what's the player to the G-A-M-E? Saying need the word about him bringing me to the beat. Jealous who? Girl, please. Left, right, do it to the beat. Top with my body, that's my strategy. Other girls try, but I'm really hard to beat. He'll be mine off my strategy. Left, right, do it to the beat. Top with my body, that's my strategy. Other girls try, but I'm really hard to beat. He'll be mine off my strategy.
Strategy, like grabby B. One look at me. I betcha, boy. You be down on your knees, calling me up, begging me don't leave.
Yeah, I love that new percussion back there.
Getcha, boy. Hey boy, I'ma get ya real good and I betcha. Hey boy, once I get ya, you'll be oh so glad.
Nice little guitar idea. A lot of muted hits to make the guitar more percussive here.
Hey boy, I'ma get ya real good and I betcha.
Alright, pretty sure that's the end of the song. Yeah. Alright. A lot of cool things going on here, and it's actually something very cool happening that in a lot of tracks tends to sort of pull me away from it, but I think that they found a neat way to work it into a format that I think works for me. And let's start with that, actually, because there's a lot of conversation that revolves around this one topic, so yeah, that's a good starting place. There's a lot of different ideas in here. The song exists in 4-bar phrases. Sometimes we will take a 4-bar idea and repeat it again, but more often than not, that 4-bar idea is the only time we will hear it, and then we will move on to something else. This happens rather frequently. The song isn't very interested in standing still at all. It isn't interested in creating cyclical structure. We do come back to the chorus often. Um, no, actually, we only came back to it once, didn't we? We didn't end the song. Well, we ended the song on a variation of the chorus, musically at least. I don't know if we did lyrically. So yeah, there's only 2 choruses in here, I think, then. So we don't even come back to it often. It kind of has an A, B, C, D structure, which is kind of neat too. But anyways, within those A's, the verses, we actually have 4 different ideas in most of the verses. And that creates a song that feels rather linear. It feels like it's always pushing forward rather than working within a repeated loop. And this shows up actually for people who watch the channel more frequently. If this is your first time on the channel, I don't typically cover K-pop, but I do cover it enough. I'm interested in what's going on over there. But mostly we cover rock and metal. And progressive rock and progressive metal both really love to write music that is a bit more linear. But something that's always kind of hasn't always worked for me within that is that they'll jump from a variety of ideas back to back, and I've sometimes, depending on the band, depending on the song, the ideas just don't work for me very well. Each individual idea is fantastic, but they don't really make a strong cohesive idea. And it's something that Twice actually nails here rather well. The beat, the instrumentation, the atmosphere, the harmonic elements, the emotion of each section, it all changes. Every 4 bars, you're getting something totally different. And you're even getting a new vocalist often enough, too. It could be a song that feels entirely disjointed because of that. In fact, earlier this week, we checked out a Japanese rock band, I think, called Pale Dusk. And actually, I say earlier this week, is earlier today. And absolutely bonkers. All the ideas they cram in there, and it feels very jumbled up and very. It's lacking harmony across all the different ideas, and that is kind of a. I don't know. It's sort of a staple sound. We hear it a lot in rock and metal, but here they choose not to go that direction. And it's not necessarily something that I think is inherent to K-pop. I've listened to some K-pop tracks that do this same approach. Where every 4 bars we have something new, and it's like drastically new, where it doesn't quite connect to everything else. But here, Twice seems to be focusing in on this concept of synergistic, rapid movement. I don't know. That's a terrible phrase for this. It's very unwieldy. But every idea seems to blend into the next one in a way. It's almost, I think, invisible just how many sections are in this track. And it's a bit of a slower tempo. So when I say 4-bar phrase, we're actually talking about, 20 to 30 seconds for each idea. Um, but we get done with something, we swap out instruments, we swap out vocalists, we swap out harmony, and different rhythms come in, and yet despite all of that, it feels connected. I'd actually be surprised if I went to the comments, people like, yeah, actually I felt all the changes in here. Well, actually, no, if you're vocal focused, you might actually feel that, because each vocalist brings their own style, attitude to the idea as well, to the song. They all have their own rhythmic ideas. They all have their, some are more syncopated and spoken word, others are more sing-songy and poppier. So there is a little bit of variety there as well. And maybe you'll feel those switch ups, because I do think that they're apparent. But everything just flows. And I think what ties it all together is ultimately the production of the thing. There is such a high fidelity attention to the production to ensure that everything from start to finish has this really crisp finish on it. That there's a nice level of compression to everything that allows every single sound to have a bite to it, and I think a hyper attention to space and note length. That is to say that even when we're talking about the percussion, that there is a hyper focus on how long this percussion sound is going to resonate or how long the sound is going to ring out. It might be a cymbal hit, but you're not going to get the full ringing out. Maybe it'll be stopped early. And that's going to be done by the engineer. And it allows everything to feel very crisp and tight. There's a very strong element of automation to this entire song. From the vocals to the instrumentation, everything feels like it has been touched by the engineer in order to ensure that the sound is accurate and that the length is exactly as the song demands. It is a song that, despite all of the acoustic instrumentation, or at least libraries of acoustic instrumentation that's present on it, it still feels heavily digital. This is not something I think that would be very easy to replicate purely acoustically without changing the feeling of it, at least from a sonic perspective. And since every single section of the song has that attention to detail, it has that bite, it has those really harsh stops, it feels very crisp and tight and robotic, that helps tie everything together. Or at least that's one of the layers of adhesion. Anyways, another one I think is atmosphere. The way that most of these sections are layered up is you have a foundational idea. Usually this is rhythmic. You might have some harmony here. The harmony primarily comes from synths. Towards the end of the song, we do get some guitar, but like I mentioned, they're muted guitar hits. Mostly. There are some full strums. You actually do get harmonic information as that full chord is played, but most of it is muted. So instead of hearing all the notes, you kind of hear cha, cha, cha. It's more of a percussive sound coming out of the guitar. This is widely used in a lot of guitar-oriented music. I'm not going to say that this is unique to what Twice is doing here, but I do think it's interesting that the one instrument they bring in that is a pitched instrument, they play it more rhythmically than maybe another artist would. And I think that's because a majority of the foundational elements here, basically anything that isn't a vocal, is rhythmic. The only exclusion to this is the synths, and they actually have a very specific area to exist in. The synths are frequently pushed way out to the side of the mix. It is so that the chords can create the atmosphere that surrounds the vocals in the center, the rhythm in the center. What you're supposed to be hearing immediately is the words. You're supposed to connect with the vocalists and the artists, and you're supposed to feel the groove underneath, which makes you want to dance. And this is a very groovy song. It's very difficult not to dance to this. What sits on the outside is supposed to be on your periphery of attention. You're supposed to feel the emotion of these sounds. You're supposed to, absorb the atmosphere that these chords present, but you're not really supposed to focus in on them too much. It's flavor to everything else that's going on. And so when the guitars are present with the majority of the instruments, they have to be rhythmic. It's how every section of this song is built. And like I said, that provides a lot of focus to be put on the vocals, which is where the core melody is at. And since it's an idol group, and I assume there's some marketing element to all of this, putting the attention on the dancers, the vocalists here. I mean, they kind of do both, right? And creating that connection with them so that you can have your biases and want to buy the merch for them and all that kind of stuff. Like, that is obviously, I think, a big portion of how this music is produced. And it feels kind of like a cynical take. I don't think it is. I think it's just the reality of the situation. And I don't think it diminishes too much from the art that is being made, just because you know how the art is being made and maybe what some of the intentions are on at least one level of the creation process. And it's not like, there's very little music out there that isn't designed to maximize profit in some way. Even, rock bands who come out of their garage and go on tour on their own money. They're still trying to make money so that this can be their primary gig. Money's still a focus. There's very few artists who can go in completely devoid from a financial element. So, anyways, I'm getting off topic here. Let me get back to the music. Now, here's something that I really enjoy about this, going back to the production of the whole thing, is the transitions. There are so many, and see, here's another thing that I think helps with the cohesion of everything. It isn't just that the structures are all similar. It isn't just that the production as a whole has a similar sonic palette in every section, but I also think it's the transition between ideas. These are very cool, and I think the wild thing is, if I were to describe most of these transitions, I would actually use cinematography and film techniques, particularly visual editing terminology, to speak about it. It always feels like there's some sort of camera movement, a musical camera movement in the ideas of zooms or scoops or like, just like, what is it? When you have a picture of like an area, you're just kind of setting up the premise of where this next scene takes, establishing shots, right? All the music transitions feel like this. We're either introducing a new idea or we are having some sort of like a crossfade is how I kind of envision the scoops where we'll be on the last bar of the previous idea, and then you'll hear the synth just kind of come in from underneath with rising volume, rising pitch, like a and it feels like we're being thrust into the next idea. And so no matter what, there really isn't a section in here where we kind of abruptly go from this idea to that idea. There's always some sort of smooth crossover of attention where either, well, actually, usually something that is going to be present next is apparent now. And we're kind of sneaking it in underneath and then bringing your attention over to that. And so even if the ideas might be a bit more different. Maybe we completely change the timbres. All the instruments are different here. Maybe we're going to switch from something that is melodically sung to something rapped or a bit more spoken word. There might be a really big change, but musically we're smoothly going over into it. And I think that goes a long way to creating a sort of unification to the song. It allows every section not to feel like a self-contained chapter in a story, but just a really long, well, actually, I guess in this case, a 3-minute long song, a single chapter novella. And I really enjoy that. Like I mentioned at the beginning, this type of writing with all these different ideas usually bounces off of me, but they find a way to connect everything that works. Let's see, any individual things I want to bring up? Because, like, mostly, I know I've been talking about the production, and I'm sure most Twice fans are going to come in here and be like, why isn't he talking about the vocalists or the lyrics or anything like that? But the production is just it's what really stands out to me. There's a plethora of instruments. I'm a huge fan of that. But again, that's the engineering side of things. As far as the what 7, 8, 9 performers in the group, I don't think I have a lot to say about them in particular. I do enjoy the variety of timbres that they bring to the table. Having 9 vocalists, I don't know how many are in here. I'm just going to keep saying 9, and I'll correct myself in a second when I go look some things up. But having 9 distinct lead instrument timbres is a huge opportunity, and I love how super groups like this, or I guess just K-pop groups in general, it seems really big to me. 9 singers is a lot to put in a band, especially to kind of put together in a 4-minute song, or 3:20 actually, if we get rid of the opening and outro. But I think they find a fantastic way of divvying up the time semi-evenly so that it allows the song to both have what it needs. Maybe, specific songs benefit better from this type of vocals. And so maybe only 5 of the people are going to sing primarily on this track or something like that. But there's plenty of place for everyone to sort of get a little bit in here. And I love the harmonies too. There's so many places where we get these vocal stacks, and I think it benefits from the same thing that we saw with the synthesizer, where your lead vocal is still center and all of your harmonizing vocalists are pushed out to the side because they're providing harmony. They're creating the chords just like the synths do, and they're pushed out to the sides as well. It is extra information that you can engage with subconsciously, but they don't necessarily want you paying too much attention to it because there is a key focus at the moment. And again, this comes back to the production. It's just such a genius way of composing, or sorry, of presenting this composition. Oh, let me talk about this real quick. The chorus is awesome. I love it. There's a lot of interesting harmonies going on in this track. Some of them feel a bit more modern pop. There's actually one that feels a bit tense, and I think it was the beginning of the second verse, and it was a bit more spoken word, sing-songy. It wasn't like traditional singing, but I wouldn't call it rapping either. Anyways, I think there was a fourth interval there. Basically, whatever note you want to choose, and then pick in within your key, you go up 3 more notes to the fourth one in the key. And that is a very tense interval. It creates tension, it creates instability, and I feel like that entire section was built on it. It felt really great to get to the next section, which had a bit more of a stable harmony to it. And maybe that was the point of it too, to create this contrasting tension in order to build up some anxiety and then release it. I thought that worked really well, but the chorus is what I want to focus on. Like I had mentioned, the first half, so the first 2 bars of the chorus have this really great modern pop, very stable harmony to it. Has a little bit of an R&B leaning, a little bit of a bluesiness to it, but still rather bright and poppy and bubblegum. But the second half takes it into a little bit of a jazzier direction. I wish I knew exactly what was going on here, but it feels like we took that original chord or the original key that we had, and we just swapped out a couple of notes. Maybe we added some notes above the octave that are a bit different than the ones below it, and just create something that's very, well, for lack of a better word, spicy. It's intricate, it's complex, it feels very fresh, and I think that's awesome. I really love hearing stuff like that music, and Western music starting to get there. We see some stuff here and there, but for the most part, I feel like harmonically, Western pop plays it very safe. And it was very cool to hear it there. I dug that. Yeah, I don't have much to say about Megan's feature either. I think it was fine. It feels very much like Megan's style of rapping. She has these cool flow switch ups, and I enjoy the way that she uses tone and pitch. She has a lot of sections where she'll hit a single note over and over and over, drop down, and sort of scoop up into a higher note. I think an octave of the lowest one before coming back down. Kind of has this she kind of has that scoop a lot in the first half. It sounds really cool. But otherwise, I don't have a lot to say about that either. Let me hit some lyrics on this, see what's going on, and then we're going to wrap this video up. Alright, so I like this. I usually have a tough time finding the synergy between the musical themes, what the song is telling me, and the lyrical themes, what the words are saying when it comes to pop music in general, but even specifically K-pop, which I will say I just don't have a lot of experience with it. I maybe listened to a dozen K-pop songs in my entire life, so maybe I'm just not listening to the right ones. This song, though, is very light and fun and bouncy. As I've mentioned many times, it's a very crisp production that makes you want to dance and move, and also, listen to the vocalists. The song is about dancing and moving. There's a lot of physicality in the lyrics. It mentions that she does her highlights, so she shines in the moonlight, that she makes sure her silhouette is tight, so even her shadow looks good. Let's see, I think it was the second verse. Yeah, it says, I want to dance till I'm in your head. You're watching my body get loose. There's a lot of elements of dancing and movement in here. Now, the general content context for all of this is that it's a very flirty song. It's basically saying that the strategy for flirting with boys is to do all of this, to look great and to move in a way that makes me unforgettable for people who look at me. Even the pre-chorus, I think, states it a little bit more directly. Says, when I say hi, I'm feeling all your attention, but there's no reason to be shy. I'm not going to bite. Come on over. I know you want to move a little closer. I've got a plan to get you with me. That's where the flirtatious part comes in. And then, of course, the chorus is very direct. My strategy is to get with you. Winning is my trademark, and soon you'll never want to leave. This is my strategy that I'll get you with. And it's just, again, it's flirting strategy. And I love how that's sort of very lighthearted. Even that concept right there, flirting strategy. There's just something so fun about that. I mean, I don't think those are words that most people would use. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm just like completely out of the loop with modern lingo. But it's just a funny thing to put something as serious as the word strategy, which is typically associated with games or puzzles and stuff like that, with flirting, which is a bit more fun and lighthearted. I think it's a very cool combination there. And the song does a great job of feeling light and bouncy and fun while also having a serious element to it. I mean, I just talked about the production on it for 20 minutes. You can't gush about something like that if there isn't a lot of serious skill on display. And of course, that's not to diminish the skills of the artists either, the people singing and performing the choreography in Twice. So, I mean, this is a very serious production that feels very lighthearted. It fits really well with the concept of flirting strategy and just this entire concept here. And Megan leans into this more, again, speaking about the physicality of it, talking about moving her hips and getting people to look at her. And it fits right in with everything that Twice was saying with the first two verses. So yeah, everything just sort of clicks here. This is a song that's really cohesive, and I just don't expect that from this type of music, which might be, again, on me. I just don't have a lot of experience with it. But I find that I enjoyed this quite a bit from an artistic perspective, and I was grooving during the track too, so obviously I enjoyed it from a casual perspective too. These are my thoughts. Twice's Strategy. What did you think of this song? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Maybe you have your own interpretation or opinion on this. Let me know. Put all of that down in the comments section, as well as any additional thoughts you just want to add. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. Alright, that wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though. We're going to check out a full album. That'll be at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. I don't recognize anything about the album. The artist is The Drones. The album is I See Seaweed. I don't know anything about this. I don't know what I'm getting into tomorrow, so that's going to be real interesting. But if that doesn't interest you, Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the live stream over on Twitch. And then Monday, we'll be coming back with next week's theme. It'll be the final week of the year that I'm going to do reactions. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.